Donald has been bragging again about some cognitive tests he's taken, actually equating them with IQ tests, aptitude tests. That's not what they are. In fact, he also said he nailed his MRI. Is that a thing that can happen? Anyway, again, not a neurologist, but from what I understand, the protocol of giving somebody an MRI in conjunction with cognitive tests is typically something one does if you're worried somebody had a stroke. But what do I know? Here's the thing though, and I've been saying this for a while because Donald has been bragging about these basic cognitive tests he's taken for years now. I think the first time he took what's known as the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, or MoCA, was back in 2017. As you may or may not know, I am a clinical psychologist, and back when I was still doing that sort of thing, I administered psychological test batteries, mostly clinical psychological test batteries, the aforementioned IQ, and aptitude tests, achievement tests, and some unstructured tests like the Rorschach, which is very cool, by the way. The thematic apperception test, that was the thing I specialized in. But when I worked at a state mental hospital, psychiatric hospital, I also, on occasion, with some of my very ill patients, administered neuropsychological tests. So again, not my specialty, but I know a thing or two about but how these things are administered and what they mean. And the MoCA is truly a screening test. It is meant to determine if somebody is in the very early stages of some kind of dementia. Now, it's designed to be passed, not just, with a D minus, but it's meant to be passed with an almost perfect score. So getting 100 on a MoCA is not some kind of great achievement. It just means that you're cognitively intact. Hooray! Good news. It means that you can correctly identify very tricky things like camels. It means that you can count backwards from 100 by sevens. It looks at things like short-term memory and scanning and processing, things like that. So for example, you're asked at the beginning of the test to remember 3 or 4 or 5 words, I don't remember how many. And then at the end of the test, you're asked to recall what those words were. That's where we got man, woman, TV, person, camera, or whatever Donald said. But here's the thing, on a MoCA or any other kind of test like it, you would never be given words in the same category of thing because that makes it easier for them to remember. Anyway, I'm going on and on about this. Why? Well, because I have a question. Why is Donald still being given cognitive tests? That's a bit of an alarm bell right there. As I said, again, when he started going on and on about the test results he got, which again are supposed to be almost perfect. I said, bragging about the results of your cognitive test is failing the cognitive tests because it essentially means you don't have the cognitive capacity to understand why you were given those tests in the first place. It also means, in Donald's case, of course, that he is a deeply thirsty man who just craves praise so desperately. He kind of reminds me of somebody who would take that cognitive test home, with its 96% out of 100, and put it on his own refrigerator with a magnet. Like, that's how sad that is. Well, he's been doing it again. He was on Air Force One, I guess, on his way to Japan or something. Because, you know, what's a president to do during a shutdown except spend millions of dollars of taxpayer money on a trip to Asia? And he actually said, I'm going to quote this just so I'm not paraphrasing. This is a direct quote. We have a great group of people, which they don't. By they, he means Democrats. They have Jasmine Crockett, a low IQ person. They have AOC, is low IQ. You give her an IQ test, have her pass the exams that I decided to take when I was at Walter Reed. I took those. I took those. Those are really hard. They're really aptitude tests, I guess, in a certain way, but they're cognitive tests. Not the same thing. Let AOC go against Trump. Let Jasmine go against Trump. I love it when he talks in the third person. Just wanted to put that out there. I don't think Jasmine, the first couple of questions are easy. A tiger, an elephant, a giraffe. You know, when you get up to about 5 or 6, and then they want you to get up to 10 and 20 and 25, they couldn't come close to answering any of those questions. Unquote. Like what? Does the kind of animal they're asked to identify get harder? Does it go from elephant and giraffe to capybara, lynx? I don't know. What is he talking about? Nobody knows. So once again, he fails the cognitive test by bragging about it, misidentifying it, and completely lying to us by saying that he decided to take them. That is not how it works. You do not go up to your doctor and say, hey, could you just for no reason whatsoever give me a Rorschach test? I mean, you could, but I'm pretty sure your doctor would say no. Although, to be fair, in the case of Donald, if he asked for a cognitive test, I'd say, yeah, you're probably right. You need one. That aside, of course, he cannot help but engage in the kind of racism and misogyny, which is his stock in trade. As far as I'm aware, or at least certainly the vast majority of the time, he only refers to women of color as quote unquote low IQ. It is so deeply offensive. I hope they ignore him or at least have some fun at his expense. But I'm going to throw down a gauntlet. Hey, Donald, you want to go up against me? I am more than happy to take the same cognitive test you take. I'll even take an achievement test or an IQ test. I'll even take the Rorschach if you prefer, or the thematic apperception test, except you probably don't understand what that is and couldn't define it even if you did. Anyway, I am down to take any test of your choice. Seriously. I'll even beat you at golf. And I don't play golf. Anyway, all is not well. And we are going to dive into more of that because, man, it has been quite a trip to Asia. Let's dive in. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's episode of Barry Trump Live. It is wonderful to be here with you. And today, a lot of American troops based in Japan had the great misfortune of being spoken to by Donald. In this performance, he showcased both his abysmal dance moves, which I still think might be something else, and his significant alleged mental decline. Things took a pretty dark turn when he threatened even more serious crackdowns on American cities. So let's take a look at that first.
And people don't care if we send in our military, if we send in our National Guard, if we send in Space Command. They don't care who the hell it is. They just want to be safe. And we have safe cities now. We're starting in Memphis. And Memphis was a disaster. It's been there. They've been there for 2 weeks, and it's a whole different story. Crime is less than half, and within a month it'll be gone. Getting rid of all the bad ones. And we're going to go into Chicago. We're going to go into our cities. We're going to clean them out. We're going to straighten them out. And we're going to have safe cities because you want to protect safe cities. We're going to have beautiful, safe cities, and it's happening very quickly and very easily, actually. It's easy for us. It's hard for them. We're sending in our National Guard, and if we need more than the National Guard, we'll send more than the National Guard because we're going to have safe cities. We're not going to have people killed in our cities. And Whether people like that or not, that's what we're doing.
Who cares what you stupid idiots in democratic cities want? Who cares if you believe in the Constitution? We're going to send the military into your cities, even though the Constitution tells us we can't do that, because the corrupt, illegitimate supermajority of the Supreme Court will tell us that we can. Who can listen to that and one, think it's okay, but two, believe a word he's saying? So he sends the National Guard into Memphis, and in a month, crime is just gone. Why? How? Does the National Guard just make sure that nobody's ever able to leave their homes? Is that how we're accomplishing ending the crime spree in Memphis? First of all, I didn't know that was a thing. Um, Clearly, this is Donald continuing to do one of the few things he's quite good at doing, softening the ground, getting people used to these what would normally seem like horrific ideas the first time around, but after you hear it dozens and hundreds of times, oh, well, I guess it's worth it, right? If crime is going to be eradicated and we're all going to be safe. But no, it isn't worth it. This is so that he can figure out a way, well, not he alone, of course. He and his minions and sycophants can figure out a way to declare martial law in America. The speech, which was really just a rambling, disjointed, and often incoherent glitch, was an hour long. In it, he told the troops that they were good looking and then declared that he can't stand good looking people. He said there would be salary increases despite the government shutdown, despite the fact that most of the people in that audience probably aren't getting paid right now. He bragged about his recent illegal, extra-legal, unconstitutional, and murderous attacks in the Caribbean and Pacific that we now know killed at least one innocent fisherman, which we'll get to later. The whole thing seemed to be Donald trying to butter up our troops and just kind of getting them on his side as he devises his latest scheme, which is, of course, as I said, unleashing the military in our cities. I don't know how effective it was because most of them looked bored to tears. And again, he rambled about the most insane things. Magnets versus hydraulic. Again, hating good-looking people. Most of it made no sense at all. One thing, though, that I wanted to note was he went off on this weird tangent about how President Biden used to say he was a pilot and that he was a truck driver. I don't think either of those things is true. And again, it made me wonder, like, does Donald have my dad on his brain? Because one of the only compliments my Donald ever gave to my dad was that my dad was a really good looking guy, a great looking guy. And he was a genuinely handsome man. And now Donald is saying that he hates good looking people. And also, my dad was actually a pilot. He put himself through flight school during college. He has private and his professional pilot's licenses, and he flew for TWA. He flew 707s for TWA in 1964. So, why is my dad on Donald's brain? Because again, I'm pretty sure that President Biden never said he was a pilot. But then he shifted and he did something that no president is ever, ever, ever supposed to do in front of service members. He insulted President Biden's presidency. He said that Biden was a terrible president, and everybody agrees. Now, of course, that is standard operating procedure for Donald. He treats everything like it's some kind of campaign rally. The disturbing part, though, and this is why I keep saying he's not the problem. It's the people around him. It's the people listening to him. A lot of the troops in that audience laughed. And I have a problem with that. All right, let's get back to the military attacks in the open waters of the Caribbean, and that theater has been expanded to the Pacific. Today, the New York Times reported that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced another series of deadly military strikes on boats suspected of smuggling narcotics. These actions took place off the coast of Central and South America. The strikes killed 14 people. This brings the death toll to 57 since this campaign began in September. Hegseth said that the latest strikes, of which there were 3, occurred in international waters. There was one survivor who was taken in by Mexican rescue authorities. This follows earlier attacks in the Caribbean near Venezuela, and it's all part of the Trump regime's expanding war on so-called narco terrorists. We need to stop allowing them, though, to co-opt the language of legitimate warfare. And also, I don't know what the fact that this happened in national waters has to do in terms of making any of this okay. This is using the United States military, giving the United States military illegal orders in order to murder people. That's it. That's what this is. Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump, anybody who is willingly involved in this has blood on their hands. We don't know. With the exception of that one man we know was a fisherman who had nothing to do with narco terrorism and was no threat to the United States whatsoever, we have no idea what the other 56 dead people had to do with drug running or terrorism of any kind. Were they completely innocent? No idea. We're being asked to take on faith that the Trump regime had evidence, but it was all destroyed in these attacks. This is very, very simple. I don't know what the penalty is if you're found guilty of drug trafficking. I haven't a clue. Is it the death penalty? Maybe. I mean, we know that the Trump regime is trying to bring the death penalty back, make the death penalty great again. Maybe it is a death penalty. Maybe you think it should be. But that's not what this is. This is denying people their due process rights and murdering them because you suspect they're guilty of something. The only legitimate reason to order a military strike on a target is if that target poses a realistic, immediate threat to the United States of America. 11 people on a boat in the Caribbean, which may or may not have illegal drugs on it, is not an immediate threat to the United States of America. That is not how any of this works. And I think the language with which corporate media needs to be describing this horrific situation needs to change dramatically. Here's CBS News with some updates on these strikes and some disturbing satellite footage of the events as they unfold.
4 more alleged drug boats were targeted yesterday by the U.S. military. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said a total of 14 so-called narco-terrorists were killed in the Eastern Pacific, with one known survivor.
Moments ago, we heard from Secretary Hegseth, and he had said that this is going to be a daily occurrence. We have to point out where these strikes took place. He said 3 strikes, 4 vessels. That's important because you can see in that video there, 2 of them were hit with 1 strike. 14 individuals were killed. The survivor, there was a search and rescue that was scrambled, largely with help from Mexican search and rescue teams. We have to point out again, we've been talking a lot about the Caribbean. We know there's a hurricane headed in that direction. This is on the Pacific side. So there have been strikes on that side before. And I think at last count, if we're counting strikes or vessels, we're sitting between 13 and 14 strikes. Focused in the Caribbean, but then also on that Eastern Pacific side as well. And those are the routes that are headed from Colombia.
So what you're seeing right there in that video is a bunch of human beings being murdered. Alleged drug runners. Alleged. And we may never know. We may never know who they are. You do not kill somebody who poses no threat at all simply because you believe they did something, no matter how horrific. That is not how this is done. The shutdown continues apace, and 25 states are suing Donald and the Trump regime for suspending SNAP benefits starting on November 1st. Leaders are asking a federal judge in Massachusetts to order the continuation of benefits through the government shutdown. The lawsuit says, in part, quote, "The loss of SNAP benefits leads to food insecurity, hunger, and malnutrition. which are associated with numerous negative health outcomes in children, such as poor concentration, decreased cognitive functioning, fatigue, depression, and behavioral problems, unquote. You know what else it leads to? Having children being really, really hungry. This is very important. One, this shutdown is entirely to be laid at the feet of the fascist Republican Party and Donald. The Republicans are keeping this government shutdown at Donald's behest. Two, the Trump regime could easily, without any effort whatsoever, dip into contingency funds in order to continue SNAP benefits, but they are refusing to do so. Why? Well, one, a recurring theme, they don't give a shit about children, especially poor children who need some assistance in order to get food. Also, it is extraordinarily important to them that they convince enough people that this government shutdown is the fault of the Democratic Party, despite the fact that Republicans are in charge of everything. So, since the Republicans control the executive branch, the House of Representatives, and the Senate, how do you make it the Democrats' fault? Well, you do something so cruel that the Democrats just can't take it anymore. And they make a bad bargain in the long term in order to help people in the short term. And then, if you're a Republican who is cynical, like Mike Johnson, you can say, well, see, the Democrats could have opened the government all along. They're the ones who shut it down. See how this works? One more reason that the Democrats must stand strong. I was actually quite horrified to find that the largest union representing federal workers has changed its mind and is now saying they want Democrats to capitulate. I know that things are awful for a lot of people right now, but if Democrats capitulate now, things will become so much worse in the long term. So let's put this SNAP issue in perspective. Roughly 42 million Americans receive SNAP benefits. 39% of those are children. Now, that should be enough to make us hang our head in shame. America, richest country in the history of humanity, has 42 million people in need of receiving SNAP benefits. That's grotesque. MSNBC spoke to SNAP recipients who are bracing themselves for the loss of this essential service. Watch this.
I'm only down to one pack of chicken, and I don't even know what I'm going to do for the next month. My son won't have his milk, and we won't have food. I'll go without eating it or anything as long as my kids eat.
SNAP isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Everything comes from my SNAP benefits. I haven't even gotten to the 1st of November, and I'm already shaking in my boots.
Oh, well, what are you going to do? It's just people being hungry in America in 2025. And hey, if Republicans can score some cheap political points by letting children starve, cool. Just, another one of these things. I have to say, on occasion, I never, ever want to hear a Republican say that they care about children or that they are the party of family values. They are vile, cruel, despicable, power-hungry fascists. Some Republican leaders are actually concerned for their constituents, or perhaps a better way of putting it, are concerned that their constituents are going to punish them if they don't actually get food for their kids. One of those concerned is Missouri Senator Josh Hawley. He introduced a bill last week to guarantee continued food assistance funding during the shutdown. But again, Donald doesn't care who he hurts. He's clueless to the greater economic effects of his actions. And even if he were clued, he wouldn't care. Oklahoma jobs consultant Sammy Jones broke down why cutting SNAP hurts all of us. Watch this.
If you are naive enough to think that the pause to SNAP benefits on November 1st isn't going to affect you because you don't receive food stamps, I want you to hear this. About 1 in 8 Americans receive SNAP benefits. In fact, in Oklahoma, where I live, that's 1 in 6 people. So about 600,000 people in my state alone, Oklahoma, receive SNAP benefits. About 1 in 4 children in the U.S. receive SNAP benefits. But you're not one of those people, so you don't care. But hang with me. When those benefits go away, just about $9 billion in grocery spending vanishes. So you've got to be thinking about not just the grocery stores being able to stay open and pay their employees, but you have to think about the entire supply chain, trucks on the road, people who provide food to these grocery stores. $9 billion. Every dollar spent in SNAP benefits adds about $1.50 to $1.80 to the economy. So cutting those benefits isn't saving that dollar, it's taking away that $1.50 to your local economy. But you don't receive SNAP benefits, you don't work for a grocery store, you don't drive a truck, you don't give a shit. But when all of those things happen, the only way to combat that is to drastically increase the price of groceries. Grocery prices are already up over 3% in 2025 alone, which is almost an entire percentage higher than the average increase in grocery prices over the last 20 years. I thought they were supposed to go down day one, though. So even if SNAP benefits only pause for 1 month, which, by the way, would be detrimental to all the people I mentioned before that you don't give a shit about, it will cost the economy roughly $13 to $14 billion in profit. And you can expect your grocery prices in just that 1 month to go up at least 1%. And states will stand to lose about $300 to $500 million in sales tax revenue. So even if you do not receive SNAP benefits, you never have, you never will, you do not want these to be paused on November 1st.
Logic? Who the fuck needs logic? But, that's America. You need to explain these things in the context of other people's self-interest, which quite frankly makes me crazy. You'd think that we would all just want children to be fed properly. But no, we need to make them understand how they will be adversely affected if we let children go hungry, how it will affect their economic bottom line. Unfortunately, we never seem to do this very well. It is the same reason we should want universal health care in America, because when people aren't insured, what happens? They don't have primary care providers. So chances are they're not going to go to a doctor unless they're really, really sick, at which point their care will cost more. Are they going to go to a private doctor then? No. They're going to wait until they're so sick they have to go to an emergency room. Are they going to be able to pay those exorbitant bills? No. If they had funds, they would have gone to a doctor in the first place. So who gets that unpaid bill from the emergency room? The American taxpayer. We are such idiots. It is so simple. And quite frankly, if we weren't brainwashed into thinking that this was a country of rugged individualists who don't need community and don't care about the commons, then we probably wouldn't be having this conversation, because it would be enough to say to us, we cannot allow children to go hungry. All right. Well, I never thought that I was going to use the following words in the same sentence. But the saga continues between beef, beans, Donald, and Argentina. As Politico recently reported, Donald's trade war with China has caused China, that is, to stop buying soybeans from United States farmers. Instead, they're buying them from countries like Argentina. Meanwhile, United States beef prices are high compared to last year. In order to combat that problem, Donald announced plans to quadruple the amount of beef we buy from Argentina, which, again, sounds like a stupid idea to me, especially since farmers have told it this. So, basically, in order to help out the Argentinian president, Milei, the chainsaw-wielding maniac, Donald is sabotaging American farmers, many of whom voted for him, and he's also about to sabotage American cattle ranchers, many of whom voted for him. By the way, Donald has also announced plans to give Argentina another bailout. He said it was going to be 20 billion, and now it looks like it's probably going to be $40 billion, which, just so you're aware, is more than the entire annual budget of USAID, which was an agency designed to help children in other countries from starving to death and dying from easily preventable diseases. USAID no longer exists because it was too expensive. In the midst of this Argentine bailout, the United States government shutdown has hundreds of thousands of workers unemployed and hundreds of thousands of workers still working but not receiving pay. And as I mentioned, millions of Americans are about to lose their SNAP food assistance. So, what is it going to take? During this government shutdown, Donald is raising over $350 million to build a golden ballroom after destroying the East Wing of the White House. He is on a very expensive little vacation to Asia, where he's being feted by world leaders. He's refusing to allow SNAP benefits to continue to be funded because fuck those hungry kids anyway. And instead of funding necessary programs or making sure that service members get paid during the shutdown, he's taking $40 billion of our money and sending it to another country entirely so he can help out a friend. Farmers and ranchers across the country are speaking out against Donald's nonsensical, unless you consider it in the context of his relationship with Milei, actions vis-a-vis cattle and beef prices. Here's a clip of a farmer on MSNBC expressing solidarity with members of the cattle industry.
The beef industry, they buy about 6 billion bushels of corn from us every year. And that's worth $25 billion of economic activity that goes back to grain farmers like me. And those poor cow-calf producers are finally getting ahead after being in debt too. And Stephanie, the American people need to realize that only 16 cents of every dollar goes back to me, the farmer, and the rancher. And it's the packers who are making the money right now. And when I feel so bad for our seniors sitting at home saying, why are these farmers asking for a bailout? We're not asking for a bailout. Donald Trump did this to us. And unfortunately, we are hurting right now. We are the collateral damage to what's going on. And he had 8 years to plan this. Why did he put us in the crosshairs of this collateral damage?
Because he doesn't know how anything works. First of all, again, the American farmer didn't need a bailout until Donald Trump created the economic horrors that require one. Secondly, once again, we need to think about the interconnectedness of all of this. Okay, so Donald imposes tariffs on China. China retaliates by refusing to buy soybeans from America and instead benefits another soybean market, while American soybean farmers go broke. And what? They don't need to buy supplies anymore because they don't have any money. They don't have any product. So all of the people that the soybean farmers paid for services and goods and equipment aren't getting paid either. And of course, we have to import soybeans, which are going to be more expensive than they would have been if we bought them from American farmers. You see how this works. It is not that difficult. And yet, here we are. Shifting gears, please. Last week, we asked you to send us your favorite photos from the No Kings protest, and the results were awesome. We got some really, really nice slideshows. So thanks to everybody who sent in your photographs. This week, we want to do something a little different. It is Halloween on Friday. So we want your Halloween resistance ideas. Send in pictures and videos of your favorite resistance-themed Halloween costumes and decorations, and we will put them in a slideshow for you on Friday. So here's an example of some Halloween lawn decorations we found both a little spooky and satirical. Holy shit. Okay. Don't do that. Don't send us things like that, please. Man, I thought I needed an emotional support moment before that, but now, holy cow. No, don't send things like that. What we want pictures of cute children in costumes dressed like I don't know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg or something. Okay. I'm gonna try to recover. I'm not sure. Thank goodness we have an emotional support moment coming because my word. Thankfully, we have reached that time. Today's ESM. So, as some of you know, I'm from New York. I have spent almost my entire life in the Northeast. I went to college in Boston. I've spent lots and lots of time on Cape Cod. The Northeast is one of the most beautiful places on the planet. Also, it is one of the places where we have an extraordinarily beautiful fall. The way the leaves on the trees turn colors. It is truly just one of the most beautiful sights you could behold. So, as a palate cleanser, if you will, I want to leave you with the sights and sounds of fall in the state of Maine. Although, New York could certainly give Maine a run for its money. So this is from CBS Mornings. Please enjoy. Okay, that helped a lot, but I think I need another hour of waves crashing on the shore at sunset. Anyway, if you don't live in the Northeast or anywhere where the leaves change like that, you should definitely get there someday. It is just extraordinary. All right, still feel a little freaked out, but it's Halloween. I guess we're supposed to be a little scared. I'm just a little tired of being scared on a daily basis, but okay, let us get to your questions, comments, etc. Minor Cheryl, thank you as always. Comment swear jar fee. Donnie makes me curse a lot. Yeah, no fucking kidding. When somebody says that, it's compulsory that I swear. So I apologize. And the Midas Cheryl twofer, thank you as always for gifting one Mary Trump Media membership. Cool. In the middle of nowhere, thank you so much as always. Comment an MRI. An MRI involves a giant magnet, so to nail it might not be a good idea. Yes, indeed. Indeed. Oh, I was about to say something ill-advised. So I will refrain. But point well taken. Don't panic. Think. Sometimes we have to do both at the same time, but I understand. Is a new member. Thank you very much. It's wonderful to have you here. Brigade 45, thank you very, very much. That is a mocha latte fee. That actually sounds good. I don't drink a lot of caffeine, though, so it's too late for me to have one now. Actually, I've never had a mocha latte, so what do I know? Sorry. What is... Oh, it's chocolate, right? Yeah, not my thing. But a nice latte of any kind, I'm sure would be lovely right about now. Susan, thank you so very much, as always. This is a fee for Mary versus Donald cognitive test. Let's fucking go. Yes, I'm very nervous. I feel like I need to get into training for it, which is to say, show up. Ghostly Air 59 in the house. Thank you so very much for that. Comment. Mary, can you do the Donald dance for us? Do you hate me? No. No. I think I am both emotionally and physically incapable of doing that. So I don't know. What are those called? Blooper reel? Maybe. Oh, that would take some doing. Miss Brightside gifted 1 Mary Trump Media membership. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Manado Jones 9638 is a new member. Thank you and welcome. Susan Thompson again. Thank you very, very much. Comment. I read the transcript of Donald's speech today just for the hell of it. Nonsensical word salad, clean up in aisle 47 ASAP. Yeah, I actually made a couple of TikTok videos. All I did was read from the script, from the transcript, as if it were me. And it was all I could do not to burst into laughter and sob because it was so horrifying. The thing about the magnets and the hydraulic, wow. Wow. Oh, which reminds me, I actually need to talk about this at some point, like the psychology, the psychological impulse human beings have to fill in blanks and how that is not serving us well right now. And it's all the more important that media do their jobs by not sanewashing him, but they keep doing it because, again, of that impulse to make sense of things, even when they don't make sense. GBW, thank you very, very much. Contribution to Swear Jar Fee. Watch Katie Fang's swear-filled video responding to Mike Davis's tweet about people on Snap. MPL needs more swearing. You fucking do, but some people get offended by it, and that's the fine line I'm trying to walk. And I have to be, I don't really understand why people get offended. I mean, yes, there are some words people should never say. I understand because they're hurtful, right? But, you know, as an English person, I don't mean as a person from England. I mean as somebody who has studied English my whole life, literature. Words are words, you know. Anyway, as long as we have a swear jar fee, I think we can swear. Judiciously, of course. Dorothy, thank you so much for gifting 1 Mary Trump Media membership. Awesome. In the middle of nowhere, again, thank you very, very much. Comment. Where I live now, there are many who have never even been to any city, and believe all that Kankles says. And what's up with the Russian guy here to discuss trade while we turn our backs on Canada just because Kankles is a big fat baby? I don't know. I mean, it is. I had the great misfortune of living on Long Island for a long time. What was I thinking? And it continues to stun me how provincial people in Long Island. It's literally on the border of New York City, the borough I grew up in, Queens. And I know people who never took a train into the city, never took the subway, and some people who never went into the city at all. It's like shocking to me. It is literally to get from Long Island into Manhattan, which is what people from Queens refer to as the city. It's 35 minutes. Yeah. So it's a problem. It is a problem. Yeah, there was a poll that came out. The degree to which Americans overestimate the size of certain groups. Like they think trans people who make up less than 1% of the population, like 30% of the population, and New Yorkers. Seriously, people from New York City make up about 3% of the population. They thought New York City people make up like 35% of the population, to which I say, if only, that would solve a whole bunch of problems. Yeah, and I don't know what's going on. The fact that he cut off trade talks with Canada simply because Doug Ford, Doug Ford, in Ontario, put up an ad of Ronald Reagan talking about tariffs negatively. I mean that's just the world we're living in right now, unfortunately. Michael, thank you so very much for that. Comment: the donated $130 million is only good for one day military pay. It's a nothing burger. I know. It's all just kabuki theater. It's about $100 per military person, or if that. It's absurd, and it's also again a way to soften the ground. Say, oh, see, it's fine if rich people take over the military and it becomes privatized. Oh, it's also very, very illegal, and it should not surprise us that it's a member of the Mellon family. Susan, thank you again. My goodness. Comment, folks, if you have the means, please donate to your local food pantry or volunteer your time. Yes, I heartily concur. Ms. Brightside Maple, Canada is in the house. Elbows up, everybody. Donald apparently enjoys seeing kids starve, for fuck's sake. Yeah. What does he care? He's getting richer than he's ever been, which in his mind means that he's worth more, literally and metaphorically speaking, because he's deeply, deeply psychiatrically disordered. Eileen, thank you very much for that. Comment just on general principles. Okay. Gemini Fairy is a new member. Thank you so much and welcome. Joe, Colorado 9458, member for 2 months. Awesomeness. 2 months already. Yeah. See, time flies when you're having fun. Comment, good to see you laugh. Well, it is good to laugh, quite frankly, because there are so many horrors. We have to laugh at something. Joe, thank you as always. Boo, Fee. Yeah, exactly. That was scary. Legitimately scary. Richard, thank you very much as always. Comment: it was pointed out to me that doctors don't just do MRIs and general checkups whenever they want. MRIs are for when they're looking for something. Yeah, MRIs are really expensive and time consuming. And nobody just is like, oh, you know what? I feel like it's not like taking your blood pressure, or your pulse, or your temperature. It is not something that is done lightly. Yeah, it's generally speaking to rule things out if you're worried about something, or to find out what's going on if something's really wrong. And, with him, it's so hard to tell because there are so many things wrong with him. Night Owl, Ohio, thank you very much as always. Comment, fun fact, my dad was horrified by the fuck. Sorry. They were fighting one day. My mom was at her wit's end with something and walked around the house yelling, fuck, 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 fuck. I died laughing. Well, hopefully you didn't die laughing. But, yeah. If that's going to get under somebody's skin. But quite frankly, again, I don't want to go out of my way to bother people. So I try to restrain myself. But, Night Owl, Ohio, I'm quoting you. So I was obligated to say your words. Because that's what we do here. Susan, again, my goodness gracious. Folks, send your Halloween pictures to info@marriedtrumpmedia.com. Show us how you're resisting the regime. Absolutely. And no more skeletons of MAGA people, please. Don't panic. Think again. Thank you so much. Question: something that Stephen Miller might do to piss off Donald. Well, Stephen Miller would never do anything. Never, ever, ever. But if you want me to think of something he could do, we'll just walk up to Donald and say, "You're a pathetic loser." I mean, that's really all it takes, because it's true. Oh, and nobody has ever loved you. Which sounds mean, I know. But guess what? It's true, and he deserves it. Spaniel Bowles is a new member. Thank you so much. It is wonderful to have you here. And Mara, thank you very much for that. And your comment is thank you, but I say thank you. And we are wrapping this up. Aaron, we have an Aaron 2 for today. Gifted 20 Married Trump Media memberships. That is phenomenal. Aaron, as always, leaving me speechless almost, but not quite, because I have to do this, which is practically going to leave me speechless. Swear jar feed. That's all I do these days. That's a lot of fucking swearing. So thank you truly for that incredible generosity. Okay, that does it for us, I believe. Thank you to everybody who is watching on YouTube, streaming on Twitter, and yes, Substack, our Substack, the good at us. I always forget about that one. Also to everybody listening to the podcast, thanks guys. To all of our new members, everybody gifting new memberships, everybody who's a super sticker, and everybody giving us donations. Truly, cannot tell you how grateful we are. In terms of supporting us, again, easiest thing to do, just subscribe to our channel. It's free. After you subscribe, click on the bell icon and choose all. You'll be alerted. Hopefully, the YouTube algorithm has been awful lately, but here's hoping that that'll help. Another thing to do, as you may or may not know, we have pre-recorded videos dropping every day, at least 7 days a week. So check those out, watch them, like them, share them, and comment on them. All of that helps us a lot. And finally, well, not finally, penultimately, I want to thank our mods for being such amazing people and doing such a great job keeping this a community we all love to be in. And finally, to my team that is at full strength, and it's very exciting. So thank you guys for everything you do day in, day out, for keeping me on track, and every once in a while even making me look good. Not an easy thing. So thank you truly for everything. That does it for us. I will be back tomorrow night, which I think is Wednesday. Look at me keeping track of the days of the week. 6 p.m. Eastern for Married Trump Live. In the meantime, everybody, please stay safe and be kind.